If you've lived long enough, you've looked back at things that you've missed or that at your current place in life and realized and thought to yourself, how did I miss this? How did I miss this obvious trend? How did I miss what is currently occurring, this bull market? There are always bull markets occurring, no matter what period of time you're living in. This is a very common thing to miss a bull market and to later look back and realize, I can't believe I missed that. It's so obvious now. It was once famously written that, and I don't remember who wrote it, that new ideas and new concepts are at first ridiculed as lies or being untrue, and then later they are accepted as being self-evident. Well, this is true of bull markets. And when I speak of bull markets, I'm not so much speaking in the traditional use of the word, which applies simply to financial markets, stock markets, commodities markets. There are obviously bull markets in those areas, but I'm speaking more of the big trends that are happening in many different areas, such as technology, such as culture, such as society at large. And to be able to understand what is going on is a very important thing, because you can position yourself accordingly depending where you are in life to take advantage of this. And at the very least, if you don't have any ambitions for growth or benefiting from these trends, at the very least you can understand what's going on in the world around you, which in my estimation is always much better than living in ignorance. You know, another person once famously wrote that, I think it was Henry David Thoreau, that most men lead lives of quiet desperation. This is a sad sentiment, but probably true. Another equally sad sentiment is that most people live their lives in ignorance. And one could say that ignorance is often blissful, and I do agree with that to some extent, but if you think about it, wouldn't you rather be knowledgeable, at least what's going on in the world around you? Knowledge is power. And lack of knowledge is lack of power. So there's another reason you want to understand bull markets, and it's the opportunity cost. Meaning that if you miss out on a major trend, if you miss out on something that's happening, it may be years or decades before another sort of trend that fits your personality, that suits who you are, as far as someone who could really take advantage of this, comes along. And that's a lot of time. That's called an opportunity cost. I have missed some in the past. Many times we will hear about these new concepts and these new trends, and it's human nature to kind of scoff at new things and to dismiss ideas without giving it much thought. I've got some personal examples. And again, none of this is financial advice, but in 2016, I was having lunch with a friend of mine. And he was sitting across the table from me, and he looked at his phone, his mobile phone, and he kind of did a little fist bump. And I said, John, what are you so happy about? What are you looking at? And he said, well, my Bitcoin just went over $600 per Bitcoin. And I asked him, I said, well, what is that? I've never heard of Bitcoin. What is that exactly? And he went to explain the concept to me and what it is. And after listening to him for a few minutes, I just sort of looked at him and said, you know, that doesn't make any sense to me. Why would anything like that have any value? It's just a bunch of code on a computer. And he tried to explain it to me a little bit more. And I kind of understood what he was saying, but I just dismissed it. It sounded kind of foolish and like a scam, quite honestly. So I missed out on that, because that $600 Bitcoin is now $100,000 a Bitcoin. Last time we checked the price, it went over six figures this week. So I'm not talking about, again, just from an investment standpoint. Many people understood this trend kind of in the early 2010s or mid 2010s, and they started podcasts that revolved around Bitcoin or businesses that revolved around it, and they benefited off of that major bull market, that major trend. And I'm certainly not saying it's a good investment. You should go out and buy now. Maybe you should, maybe you shouldn't. Do your own research. But the point is, it is a major trend, and I missed it. Now, I did get involved kind of at a later time, but I didn't listen to John there at the beginning. He was an early adopter, and early adopters are typically very smart people that are very discerning, and they understand the value of getting in trends at the beginning. What I should have done is I should have practiced my own discernment. I should have realized that John, a friend of mine, was a very smart person, a very accomplished person, even though he was only in his mid-20s. He had already accomplished a lot in life. Very smart guy, knew what he was doing. And maybe I should have thought to myself, look, if John is committed to this and says it's a good idea and investing his own money into it, maybe at the very least, I should at least tonight when I go home, maybe get a cup of coffee, sit down for 15, 20 minutes and read some articles online about what is this Bitcoin? What's this all about? To at least educate myself on it. But I didn't. I dismissed the idea as something that didn't make any sense to me, and I missed out on that, especially at least in the early stages. There was another time when the internet was just getting started, actually, showing my age here a little bit, but I was in college at the time. And I walked in the apartment with my girlfriend, and my girlfriend's brother was sitting there on his computer doing some work, and we asked what he was doing. He said, oh, I'm doing email. I'm sending emails to people. And we asked him, what is email? We've never heard of that. And he told us about email, and he told us about the internet, how it was growing, this thing called the internet. And, I think the next thing we said, my girlfriend and I to each other is, let's go get a hamburger somewhere. And we completely forgot about what her brother had told us. But if, again, I would have had discernment, maybe I could have looked into this. Maybe I would have changed my major in college because that was the early stages of college, and I kind of didn't know what I wanted to major in at the time. Maybe I would have majored in computer science or computer programming or something like that and gotten involved. And sometimes I think, well, what would have happened if I would have got into that field at the beginning of the internet boom, the technology boom of the 90s? We all think back the whole, what if, that's obviously part of human nature. But that's why understanding bull markets and having discernment to be able to discern these trends is such an important skill to develop. And it is a skill. And often it only comes from having missed. Unfortunately, it's most often developed only from having missed many opportunities previously. It comes from just simply growing older and becoming wiser. But if you learn how to be discerning, you don't have to have those missed opportunity costs that I was talking about. Now, I'm certainly not suggesting that every trend or every new concept that you hear about is going to be the next big thing. Far from it. Most of these things will probably not be the next big thing. And you'll get to the point where, and many people get to the point, and you want to get there, where you can pretty quickly dismiss most things you hear as kind of BS, something that's probably not going anywhere. And you will develop, if you practice this skill and you practice developing your discernment, you will develop this ability to do that. But at the same time, if you can put a few things together, such as, this person is telling me, this person I respect, this intelligent, smart, successful person is involved in something. They're telling me about something that really doesn't make much sense to me right now, but it sounds like it's some kind of new technology. It sounds like it's some new kind of trend, something that's happening. I at least need to look into it, because they probably wouldn't be putting their energies there. They probably wouldn't be putting sometimes their money there if they didn't think it was something of value, So if you can combine these different things and understand that this is what's happening, it's a smart person, it's a successful person, and it's something you may not have heard of. It's something different. It kind of doesn't make sense, but that's how new technologies, that's how new bull markets always are. They don't make sense at first. I don't think the automobile made sense to a lot of people when they first heard about it back in the horse and buggy days. I think that when the concept of electricity in every home came out, most people were saying, oh, it's going to burn down the city. In fact, there were a lot of articles written by competing interests that to this effect, saying what a danger electricity would be. And obviously we can just laugh at that now. So discernment is a critical skill to develop. So we can kind of look now at the world and say, well, where are the current bull markets? Where are the current trends? And some of them I'm going to mention here in a minute. And you may think, well, that's obvious. And it's becoming more and more obvious every day. But it's good to know. Again, it's good to know what's going on in the world. AI is obviously a big trend happening right now. It's becoming more and more of a thing. I read an article the other day that was comparing AI to the internet, probably circa early to mid 90s, as far as an opportunity. Michael Saylor, the CEO of MicroStrategy, a very smart and accomplished person, a billionaire. I watched a podcast with him a few months ago, and he said that AI is a really big opportunity now, and he thinks that people want to get in. They've got about a good 5-year window right now. And to me, that sounds about right. Along with AI, you could say robotics. I think that Tesla and I believe some other companies are already developing robots, humanoid robots. Elon Musk, I believe, said there'll be a humanoid robot in many homes, most homes, as personal assistants one of these days, maybe within the next decade. If that's the case, then we're just at the beginning of that now. You could say the creator economy. It's what they call the creator economy, which is sort of what I'm doing here with a YouTube video. That this is a major trend, certainly happening right now. Everybody's starting a YouTube channel. I don't think that opportunity is gone yet. I think that the early adopters have already taken advantage of that. Certainly, YouTube and Twitter have been around for over a decade, and they kind of the smart money, so to speak, the early adopters have already taken advantage of that. And now many of them have hundreds of thousands or millions of followers because they did take advantage of that. But it's probably not too late for that as far as the trend has sort of petered out. Bull markets always and trends always do not have a positive aspect to them, unfortunately. There are negative trends, obviously. You can look back historically and just read history, and sometimes these negative trends, the entire most of the 1800s was marked by wars throughout the world all over the place that were a consequence of the Napoleonic Wars, and then it kind of continued to propagate from that in different parts of Europe that were destabilized. And that happened all throughout different parts of the 1800s. Similarly, right now one could say that there's a major trend in world conflict. The Russia-Ukraine war that started in 2022. The war in the Middle East that has been going on. China has been rattling its sabers about eventually saying they're going to take Taiwan, probably this decade. They're building their blue water navy. They're continuing to build their conventional and nuclear forces. So these are unfortunate trends, but again, nonetheless, trends that one needs to be aware of. We want to focus on the positive trends. Those are the ones that we can take advantage of if we're so inclined. So develop your skill of recognizing meaningful and significant trends. Understand bull markets and position yourself accordingly.